Welcome to Believers vs. Skeptic, a show where we try and figure out if a myth or a paranormal legend is true or not. I am your host, Karolina Gudynas. Our believer is
Emma Wesolowski.
And our skeptic is
Ben Sang.
And he does not believe in any of this.
I don't.
The story we're doing today is Resurrection Mary.
Because of the history and the death along it, it's become known as really one of the most haunted roadways, not only in Chicago, but anywhere in the country.
Her name is Resurrection Mary. And since the 1930s, she's been making this unassuming avenue one of the most eerie roads in America.
If you live in Illinois, you've probably heard of it. I have not.
I haven't either. What is this?
Okay, so background info. It's on Archer Avenue, this ghost, Resurrection Mary. And it's on Archer Avenue in Justice, Illinois, which is like south side of Chicago. And it's like near Resurrection Cemetery. It's like a Polish cemetery on Archer Avenue. And it's also near O. Henry Ballroom where you can see the ghost. And basically, there's this ghost called Resurrection Mary, and she's been haunting Archer Avenue since the late 1920s and early 30s. People describe her as a young, pretty blonde girl in a white dress. Some people say she has blue eyes, and most people say she's of Polish descent, and others say she's of Lithuanian descent.
How'd she die?
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So the first legend is there was this girl named Mary, and she was attending a dance at O. Henry Ballroom with her boyfriend. The couple got into an argument, and Mary decided to walk home instead of going home in a car. And as she walked down Archer Avenue through the rain, she was hit by a car between O. Henry Ballroom and Resurrection Cemetery.
Nice.
That's not a great response to that.
I mean, watch where you're going. They didn't even have phones back then. I mean, what were you staring at?
They didn't have... The phone was invented in, like, the 1800s.
No, but, like, cell phones.
Okay,
what was
yeah.
she going to do? Stare at a brick... was she going to stare at a brick phone? How did she get hit by a car?
Or?
They didn't have noise-canceling headphones. They didn't have cell phones.
Okay.
How was she not looking?
O. Henry Ballroom is kind of like a club back then. It still was up until 2016 before it burned down. But O. Henry Ballroom has always been kind of like a club. So, I mean, people were probably intoxicated. Let's be honest
for
here.
sure.
All right. So then, where was she? Like, was she just walking in the middle of the road and then get hit by the car?
I'm assuming she was walking on the side of the car. The dude kind of steered.
She was walking
You mean
on
the road?
The road, oh my God.
She was walking on the side of the car? She Spider-Man?
No. She was walking on the side of the road, and the car probably just swerved and hit her.
Well, then that's the
And
car's fault.
there's no suspect as to who hit her.
So basically it was a hit and run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple, just intoxicated, like, accidental drive-by. What exactly is the ghost part of this? Is she back for revenge from the car?
Well, many people say that she kind of, like, haunts Archer Avenue to, like, what she'll do is she'll, like, there'll be cars going down the road, and they see this young woman, and they're like, what is she doing? So they stop and ask her if she's okay and if she needs a ride, and she'll ask to go, like, down Archer Avenue or to, like, a specific location on Archer Avenue, and then she'll tell them to stop. She'll either vanish in the car randomly or get out of the car, vanish there, or she'll go, she asks to be dropped off at Resurrection Cemetery, she'll touch the gate and just completely vanish.
Are we sure these people aren't just completely drunk or on, like, some sort of intoxicator?
I mean, it's a possibility,
'Cause,
but I
like-
really don't think they are.
I have
the
a couple sources that say they weren't intoxicated, so.
Also, the power of suggestion is a bit believable, especially when you're intoxicated. Like, people say these legends happen. It's like, oh, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, I can get what that part. Like, if you're intoxicated, you're not in your right mind.
Yeah.
This just sounds like some old folks tale that people have been trying to run on for years. And have been, like, somewhat successful, but somewhat not. This just sounds like a sad story of some girl getting hit by a car.
And people just turn it into a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, second legend. So there was this guy named Vince, and he was dancing, I think, at Chet's Melody Lounge, and he found this girl named Mary, and they went dancing, and she asked, "Can you give me a ride home?" and stuff like that. He drove her up Archer, and she insisted to pull over by Resurrection Cemetery. Like, once they saw Resurrection Cemetery, she was like, "Stop right here. I want to be dropped off here." And he walked towards the gate, touched the chain, and vanished. Obviously, this is weird. So he goes door to door asking around for a girl named Mary, and he found her mother, and Mary's mother says that she went dancing with some boys, and the boys were driving her home, and some of the guy who was driving crashed the car, and she flew out of the windshield and died on the way to the hospital.
So this is a hallucination about a girl who already died, him going back to her mother accidentally and finding out how she died. This sounds like a whole lot of something special. This is some special thing that he's taken. What? Huh? This is such a confusing tale. This is like a flashback on a flashback. What am I supposed to make of this?
I don't know.
What are you gonna make of this? How are you gonna prove your point here?
I mean, I kind of did research with Karolina, so like I kind of know some of this stuff. And I remember reading that one actually, and apparently like they were like, he met her like at the bar or whatever, and like they were like dancing together, and he said she felt cold to the touch too, like slightly. And then like, you know, he ended up like taking her to the cemetery and stuff like that.
This is some dude just trying to profit off of a legend. This is some dude trying to get, like, somewhat popular. I'm telling you right now, this dude is faking that entire thing. What was his name, Chet?
Vince.
Vince? Well, wait, who's Chet?
Chet is the Melody Lounge.
Oh,
Club.
that's okay. Vince, I don't know. It sounds like something a Vince would do. They're crafty.
Just insulted all the Vinces.
I did, and I'm okay with that.
All right. Some strange occurrences. Obviously, she's seen at night because you're not going to see a ghost on Archer Avenue in broad daylight. Archer's busy. She's also spotted at dance halls and nightclubs and the ballroom, obviously, O. Henry's ballroom, and the cemetery. And she always asks for a ride. Like, people will stop and she goes, "Can I get a ride?" And then she just tells them to stop, usually somewhere along Archer Avenue, which is weird.
Dude, she needs to get an Uber. She's hitchhiking way too much.
Oh, God. My parents know the legend as well, and they've said that it only happens on Saturdays.
That's a very specific
I
time.
know, it's a very specific time, but my parents went clubbing to O. Henry's Ballroom on Saturdays when I was a kid, which used to be called Willowbrook Ballroom before it burned down. It was also called Bunketis, which is bunker in Lithuanian. There was like a bar there too.
This is a very specific ghost.
Yes.
This ghost is apparently
Clearly.
only seen on Saturdays and only wants to get a ride from random strangers. Just get an Uber and do it on a different day. It's a very specific ghost on when they feel like haunting. This story doesn't make sense whatever way you tell it. This story just sounds like some random folktale. The girl might have actually died, and then they're just like, you know what, let's make it into a story.
Actually, I'll get to that later about a girl dying, but there's more to the story there. I didn't say everything at first yet.
Yeah.
There's some more sightings. There was this dude named Jerry Palouse. I have no idea how to say that.
Maybe Payless,
I don't know.
Palouse, who knows?
He was at a nightclub in 1939, and he found this young blonde woman, a.k.a. Mary. And they spent the night dancing and even shared a kiss. But he noticed her hands were ice cold, like most of the sightings. And Jerry offered her a ride home. She accepted it, and when they were going down Archer, the woman motioned to Jerry to stop in front of this Resurrection Cemetery. And once she stepped out of the car, she just vanished. And he went, same thing with like the dude Vince, he went to investigate and found out that the woman who he now knew as Mary died around 3 years ago.
Another dude that's just trying to get popular. Or it was like a dare. They're like, you know what, like, feed into this little
His
folks
buddies
tale.
dared him.
Yeah, Vince dared him. It was his buddy Vince. This sounds like the exact same thing that just seems to be happening over and over again. People just feeding into this little tale.
Yeah. There's also a bunch of cab drivers that say they see her and they drive her somewhere, and one report said he drove her to an abandoned shack. She just disappeared.
See, now she's getting creative. She's taking cabs, all right? This is what we need to be doing, not hitchhiking.
She's progressing.
Yeah.
She usually actually does take cabs. Most of like the sightings are from cab drivers, and from what I know from my parents, they've always said that it's always like taxi cabs that she asks.
She
for
really
a ride.
hates Uber. Maybe Lyft. Maybe she should take a Lyft. But this is such a random folktale of just somebody asking for rides. Like, get your own car, please.
She's
We
a
don't-
ghost.
Okay.
How do you
she
explain?
decides
How do you explain someone vanishing into thin air?
a ghost. If you can vanish into thin air, why don't you vanish to the cemetery? That's a question. Well, where are you going when she
It's
reaches
her
the cemetery?
own thing.
Yeah,
she has a routine.
she has a
Let
thing,
her,
okay?
Let her do her
li-
routine.
Let her not live.
It's her
life.
nightly Saturday haunting routine. It's got a freaking ghost tube channel. Welcome to my Saturday routine.
Where I will be getting a cab driver to drive me to Resurrection Cemetery.
Where I will be
Again.
making somebody hallucinate and then vanishing out of thin air.
Alright.
This is such a strange and like utterly weird freaking tale.
All right, next sighting. Claire and Mark Rudnick. This was in 1980. They spotted a young woman near Resurrection Cemetery driving down Archer, and the woman was transparent with a white aura, and they were like, "Wait, that's Resurrection Mary." They realized that it's the ghost on Archer, and when they did a U-turn to see if she was still there, she was gone.
All right, so were they drunk?
I don't think so.
Ooh, think is a very large word here. Because if they were drunk, that explains a lot
Okay, but
there.
how do you explain two people seeing the same exact thing?
Yeah, like, what if one of them wasn't drunk? Like, say one was and the other one wasn't.
Power of suggestion. Dude, freaking gaslighting is a whole new word now. I mean, like, come on.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
All right. The last sighting, Jeanette Kalal, it was 1989, and she was with a bunch of friends in a car, like a bunch. The entire car was full. And they were passing Resurrection Cemetery, and there was a woman wearing a white dress that jumped in front of the car. So Jeanette went right through the woman. No impact, no sound, and no sign of the woman. There were no, damage, nothing. And, she and her friends saw the woman, like all of them. So, like, how do you explain?
How big
no
was the
impact?
car? I need the dimensions,
Okay,
the
but, like-
model, the year it was made. I need to know how many people can fit inside of
Okay,
this
I
car.
don't know.
Well,
It's a bunch of people, okay?
we need specifics here.
But, like, the fact that, just imagine you're driving down the road with, like, a group of friends, and you just see a woman standing in the middle of the road, and, like, well, she just jumps out in front of you, and you can't go anywhere, so you go through her. Like, just imagine how scary that would be, and then you realize she's, like, gone. There's nothing that happened. Like, that's kind of...
Very angry bridesmaid or soon-to-be wife that wants to get out of the relationship. And so they were in the forest, so they ran out of the forest, and then they almost got hit by a car.
There isn't any forest over there.
No, there is.
Oh, there is. Never mind,
Yeah.
then. I thought...
Also, what if they ended up actually hitting them, and then they just hid the body and said that they didn't see anything? What if they just, hit a girl with
well, you
their
think
car
someone would
and
have
they
found it, right? Like... eventually.
Yeah.
With that many people, they could dig a very deep hole.
Well, it could still be found.
Who's gonna randomly dig in the middle of the forest?
I don't know.
A bunch of people who look through the cemetery to find who Resurrection Mary actually was.
I mean, there are crazy people out there. I mean,
Yeah.
weirder things have happened.
Yeah, a lot weirder things have happened, like
You think?
disappearing and nightly Saturday routines. These stories just keep getting stranger and a lot more like a lot of people are drunk. The power of suggestion and like alcohol seem like a very big factor in all of these.
Okay, but how do you like taxi cabs? Like the
Taxi
person driving
cabs.
that car ain't gonna be drunk.
Yeah,
because they're gonna lose their job.
The taxi cabs just be doing it to like play it out. Like because the local taxi cabs just could have like their own little thing going on where they're like trying to keep the tail alive or something. It's like a little joke they play on everyone.
Okay, but this legend has been going on since the 1920s. Like that's a long time for it to
Yeah.
run.
Like,
Multiple people must have seen something.
People are very strong-willed when it comes to stupid things.
Okay, let's
Whatever.
get into who Resurrection Mary might be. So some people thought it was some Mary buried in Resurrection Cemetery, but she didn't die on Archer, so it can't be her because usually if ghosts stay in an area, it's because they died there, or it's where they're buried.
Yeah, this ghost has a very wide range of motion. Multiple clubs and then one random cemetery.
I mean, all along Archer Avenue, too.
Yeah.
How big is her
Resurrection
radius here?
Cemetery and O. Henry Ballroom are actually kind of close to one another, though. It's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
maybe a couple miles from each other, and that's
So
it.
she could have walked, like, really close to there, too, and, like,
Yeah.
gotten hit or whatever.
You walking a couple miles by your lonely goalsome self? Dude, a couple miles apart isn't as like small as you think it is. To just wander
You think
around.
I don't know that?
Yeah, I mean, she could still make that walk, though.
This is a pretty
Yeah.
large radius that this ghost has compared to apparently some others who only have a house, like Casper.
All right. So the person that many people believe, and I believe to be Resurrection Mary, is this lady named Anna Maria Norkus. And I say the last name like that because it is a Lithuanian last name. And I believe her first name is actually Ona, because when I searched up her name, it's really hard to find stuff. But when I search up like the Lithuanian version of her name, you find like death records and where she's buried. And so she's rumored to be Resurrection Mary, and she died July 20th, 1927 at the age of 12. And like 1927 is when people start saying like there's a ghost on Archer.
Wait, but at the age
Okay.
of 12?
Yeah, at
Yeah.
the age of 12, who is picking up a 12-year-old girl
Yeah,
at a
like-
nightclub?
That's the weird thing too. Like I saw 12 and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, because, like, I mean, when people describe Mary, they describe, like, a young woman.
Yeah.
So it
why-
doesn't make sense for, like, a 12-year-old to, like...
Yeah.
Why is a
be-
12-year-old going clubbing and asking for rides?
Who knows?
This is getting so strange.
Yeah.
this took a
Now
weird
that
turn.
I highly doubt that is. You guys are just rumoring on this like sad 12-year-old girl who died 100 years ago.
Hey, I never agreed to this one.
But anyway, she died of a hit and run on Archer, I'm pretty sure. Like, I know she died of a hit and run, but I can't find anywhere where it says where.
What would keep her soul there though? Because a bunch of people say like ghosts are there for vengeance or like completing something. Like, what would she still be there for? Did she have some uncompleted goal on Archer Avenue?
Or maybe it was just, like, the trauma, you know? Because, I mean,
Yeah.
getting hit by a car isn't, like, you know...
You don't
fun
see
experience.
it coming. You don't see it coming. I mean, even if you do, you don't have time. You
Yeah,
have
I
1
got run
second.
over by a car once. It wasn't fun.
It'd be traumatic if it was like running after you, but you get hit with like a singular second and then you're dead.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's still traumatic because, I mean, you know, again, you're probably in, like, a lot of pain for, like, a split second and then you die.
Yeah, you don't have time to be traumatized. You're like, oh God, and then you're in heaven.
Well, I
You're
mean,
just there. It's a one-way ticket, very express.
it's a one-way ticket either way.
Exactly. So how are you traumatized?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, could be one explanation for why she's there. I mean,
This is I keep saying it. It's such a strange tale. It keeps getting stranger and more complex with, like, more different reasons and tales, but it also just sounds like intoxication and, like, continuing to keep the tale.
So here's another weird part. This lady, Anna, she's not buried in Resurrection Cemetery. She's buried in the Lithuanian cemetery somewhere else near Chicago. So, like, the question is, why is she haunting Archer as well? Like, if she was buried, shouldn't she be, like, kind of near her body?
Yeah, it
All
wouldn't
right.
make sense for her to haunt Archer.
I'm gonna make up a story real quick. Is it?
Oh, no.
No, it's like kind of on your side, if I'm
Okay.
being honest. What if she's going there because someone she loves buried there, and essentially the reason she's there is to, like, visit their grave every so often because maybe, like, they went to, like, hell and she went to heaven or something?
I feel like that's even more insane than what's going on over there.
I'm gonna
Dude,
say-
this thing has gone so crazy. It just might be true.
I'm gonna say the point of view from my parents. So they do believe it's this lady, and they actually know the cemetery where she's buried. I've gone there, I'm pretty sure, once or twice. And so my parents said that she'll ask, like, taxi cabs to be driven to that cemetery sometimes. And, like, that's the part of the story that I hadn't heard except from my parents. So I wonder if there's also, like, a part of the story we still don't hear because people associate Resurrection Mary with Resurrection Cemetery. So when they get a whole different place to go to, they're like, what? And they're confused.
You had to go there on Saturday and get the inside scoop from Mary.
Yeah. I mean, I've only heard, like, stories from my dad because he used to live over there. And I remember he said a bunch of, like, him and his friends, they were probably intoxicated. I'm going to go with you on that one. But, like, my dad told me, like, his one friend, like, they were all hanging out or whatever. And, like, he came, like, with them. And he was like, guys, I saw Resurrection Mary. She's real.
That is not true at all.
And he was, like, saying how he, like, saw her and stuff. And my dad and his friends were like, no, you didn't. You're probably just drunk or whatever. And they were just making fun of him the whole time. I just thought that was funny because, like, you know, they were just making fun of him for thinking that he saw her.
This is just intoxication and keeping the tail, man. All right, seriously, though, you do need to go to the cemetery and get the inside scoop. Just say I have a taxi and she'll come right over.
Oh, Jesus.
Honestly, it would be cool to see if we get, because isn't there, like, as part of one of the stories where, like, she's buried in, like, an unmarked grave or whatever?
Yeah. But, like, from one of the websites I read called Windy City Ghosts, it says, like, they digged up stuff from there. And I'm like, well, what are you digging for?
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, it's just her body in there.
Like, you're not going to get anything from, what, like, a little less than 100-year-old body. It's bones by now.
Yeah,
Like,
there's nothing to take from it.
This is going to be cut, but it's dug out, not digged out. What grade do you have in English?
I spent 2 weeks with my parents, and both of them speak in Lithuanian.
Lithuanians don't have grammar?
Not good English grammar.
Clearly.
Okay, then. Is there any more to this story, or is it just intoxicated people and 12-year-olds asking for rides from clubs?
So you don't believe a thing about
I
this.
don't believe a singular thing, especially not since I heard that she was 12
Yeah, I
now.
don't believe the 12-year-old one.
Yeah, that's a little hard to believe.
Also, cold to the touch, what if it was winter? What if they just had cold hands, man? Like, I don't understand.
Well, I mean, she's in a building, and she'd probably
Yeah.
be wearing a coat if she was going out, so...
Yeah.
Some people are stupid and wear shorts in winter. Who
Yeah,
knows what
you.
will happen? I don't wear shorts in winter,
You
actually.
used to.
My legs are the things that get
Okay,
cold
this
the
is gonna
most.
get cut. But O. Henry's ballroom was like, it's big. It was big. Like there was a bar. First of all, there was a ballroom in it. Like ballrooms ain't small. I dance ballroom. It's gotta be big so you can dance.
Was big. It gets burned down. Oof.
So like maybe back then I don't know anything. Like I can't find much about O. Henry Ballroom because then it changed to Willowbrook Ballroom and I can find info about that, but I can't find anything about like a long time ago. So maybe it was like the same situation when Willowbrook Ballroom with like there was a bar section and there was also a ballroom and maybe like Anna was like hanging out with her friend somewhere in the building. I don't know.
This
don't-
is going so far.
Yeah, I mean,
This
I
is
feel
such a
that one is
stretched
such
tale.
a stretch.
Yeah.
for-
They're all that one's such a stretch.
It's more of a stretch than the other ones.
Yeah.
Accidentally, but not actually hitting a random girl in a dress driving in the middle of the woods. Yeah, that's totally believable.
I mean, it happens all the time.
Oh yeah, you hear that story all the just was driving down and I accidentally
People are
hit a
involved in
random
hit and
lady.
runs all the
Yeah.
time.
And
You just don't hear about them.
The thing is, like,
Because
this
they
is
buried the body.
Exactly.
this
but,
is like a long time ago. Like, there weren't cameras on Archer Avenue. There weren't that many lights. Not many people, like, probably even, like, what's the word? Like, they probably didn't even know about it because, like, there was no fast way to spread information besides, like, newspapers and by word. Like, now we have our phones.
That's true, but
And we
it's
can
also
spread info.
like back then the stories were so much more believable. People
Yeah.
were so much more like, what is it, gullible essentially to those stories.
That's one word to use, yeah.
Because they were, but this sounds like way too many gullible people to the power of suggestion, or like essentially quote unquote gaslighting. This does not sound like it could be possible ever. And she's 12 going to clubs.
Yeah.
Unless a ghost can grow to 18 and then stop growing, I don't think
that's
so.
how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, what exactly is
Most
happening
people
here?
just believe it's this lady. They probably don't even know about her age. Because,
yeah, this is probably just
yeah.
like a, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
sure.
So, you completely don't believe it. What about you, Emma?
I somewhat believe it. I mean, the 12-year-old one, like, that's,
Yeah.
that's like a little too far, you know? Like, it makes no sense for, like, you know, a 12-year-old to be
Yeah.
at a, you know, club.
A little too far? Little.
What do you mean by that?
What 12-year-old's gonna be at a club? I don't think
Literally
there's
not a
ever
12-year-old.
Exactly. How is it a
That's
little
what I was
too far?
implying.
This is a complete just freaking stretch beyond compare.
Okay, so 12-year-old out.
Yeah.
Not gonna believe it because what 12-year-old's going to a club?
None.
Exactly.
Some bored 12-year-old that's been alive.
She would
for
have
like
to get in first.
Yeah, no, I
like-
don't think she could get in.
Well,
well, no, maybe.
some bored 12-year-old that's been alive for like 27,000 years. This is somebody from a long ago that's just bored and wants to go to clubs and mess with people.
All right. So, you don't believe it, Ben.
Somewhat
You believe
it.
somewhat of it, Emma.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna leave it at that. And thank you for listening to Believer versus Skeptic.
This has been interesting.
It's been very fun.
Yep.
I don't know if fun is the word there.
Well, I mean.
I don't know how to turn it off.
I should press the recording button.